If you don't know me, my name is Megan Ryan. I'm the president of Bentley Television, and thanks everyone for coming. I'm going to embarrass the Bentley Television e-board right now. So behind the camera, that's Rose Cross, our vice president. And over to my right, your left, is Maylin Zhu. She is our social media PR chair. So thanks everybody for being here, and thank you also to our wonderful alumni. So to start off, do you guys want to give your names and how you're an alumni in media?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'll start.
Last but not least.
So I'm Brandon Shug. Nice to meet you guys. I'm a marketing major, and I graduated class of 2012 with these three mooks.
Not him.
Wait,
He's a year older than us.
oh, I graduated with two of them. And right now I'm working at Arnold Worldwide, which is an agency in Boston, and I'm on Progressive, so I do all the flow stuff. I do social media.
Hi everyone, Jim Ferguson. I graduated in 2012. I'm working currently at Allen & Garrettson, which is another agency. It's located in the Seaport. And I'm mainly focused on video production, which kind of ranges from web content, like web videos, to full-on TV commercials. So kind of a wide range of stuff.
Hey guys, Carter Elkin Paris. I'm a 2010, I think it was Media and Culture. That's still what they call it.
Good to remember.
Thank you. I work in Framingham for a digital consulting firm, or Stone Temple Consulting. I'm the content marketing manager, so I'm basically in charge of basically just all the internal marketing. So graphic design, video production, coding, all that fun stuff.
Hey guys, I'm David Henson. I'm also working with Brandon at Arnold Worldwide. I'm in their broadcast production department, so I'm working as an assistant producer. So I've worked on TV ads for McDonald's, American Eagle, the Bruins. I've done some pretty fun stuff.
I'm Rick Grudy. I'm not going to tell you what year I got. But I bet no one will born when I get. But I'm a founder of a new digital media company called the UR Business Network. We're about a year and a half old. And I've had a radio show for about 10 years in the Boston market on business.
Welcome everybody, and thank you everyone at home who is watching, and welcome. So the format of how this is going to go is some of the members of Bentley Television submitted a few questions last week of what they wanted to know from our alumni in media. So I'm going to start off with those, and then afterwards open it up for open questions. So starting off with the question, what influenced you guys to go into the media industry?
We're just going to go down this way.
Yeah, whichever.
Give me more time to think.
So I started out as an Eco-Fi major because coming out of high school, I knew that I wanted to get a job at a business. So I was like, why not go to business school? And I got a business major. And then halfway through, I was like, I don't like numbers. I don't like spreadsheets. I don't like cubicles. I want to have one of those more open, creative jobs. So I switched my major my junior year to marketing, and I knew I wanted to get into an ad agency. And then that's what I pursued. So I've always been interested in technology and in like stuff online. So studied up on that, and then David there helped me get an internship at Arnold's, and then I got hired out of that. So that's how I wound up at Arnold's.
I've always been fascinated with film. That's always been like a personal passion of mine. But I've always been told that the film industry is like really, really hard to break into. It's like a closed knit, highly tight-knit like group of friends who just refuse to let anyone in. So I was like, how am I ever gonna break into that industry without like having some connections? But over the course of my college career, I discovered that there were many other avenues to kind of break in and use the same type of skills and passions, just in a different way. So I eventually transferred to Bentley and became a production student, more or less. I focused on film, but had a wide variety of different things. And I eventually got an internship at an ad agency. And from there, I got to keep the creativity and some aspects of the film industry there with me. But it's more consistent, it's more open, and you definitely have a lot of free range to put your creative touch on things. It's just comparing it to the tightly knit film industry that I was really afraid of. The ad agency is very wide open and flowing, and it gives you a lot of opportunities to kind of meet people and express yourself.
I took a pretty similar path of Brandon. I think by junior year I had declared every major Bentley had. Going into junior year, I think I was Eco-Fi at that point, I'm not really sure. I had this really great professor, Samir Dial. I don't know if any of you guys have him or know him.
He's great.
I always told him he should have been a politician because everyone that he was around, he just made, as smart as he just made you feel smarter than he was. It's a gift. So that's how he got me to be a media major. And I really didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it, but I really enjoyed doing a lot of video production. And a lot of us just ended up doing a lot of projects on our own. We probably made more things that weren't necessarily for school than actually for classes. We just enjoyed going out and doing it, which I think is just a good way to start. Like if you want to make them short or something, just go make it. Especially while you've got. I miss the resources of this place greatly. I think we all do. So yeah, I got to go to Cannes after graduation, which was a lot of fun, and then a couple of us worked on a film up in Peabody after school with Brian Merriman, which is pretty much pinnacle. So I didn't really honestly know what I was going to do after school. It took me a while to find my footing. I had different internships. I'd work at ad agencies or wherever I could. And then I kind of just stumbled into the job that I have now, which is nothing that I ever really could have planned for or aimed for, but it's kind of a collection of a lot of the things that I learned at Bentley from either doing film or graphic design or even coding, that kind of stuff. So that's where I am now.
Yeah, I think kind of similar story. I came here figuring business is a good route, but I'm not going to sit in a cubicle and do spreadsheets for the rest of my life. Did Eco-Fi, realized I hated it, so switched to economics. Pretty much, as Carter said, we all worked on each other's movies. At one point, Jim and I made a short film that was like 20 minutes long, which is way too long for a short film. Don't ever make a 20-minute short film. But we got it into the Cannes Film Festival, and it actually sold to DirecTV. And at that point, that was a little bit of legitimacy, and it was on my resume, and I sent my resume out through some family circles that I had. And I don't know how this connection came through, but somebody got my resume, and she runs a production company in Boston, agreed to meet with me just out of the kindness of her heart, and effectively sat me down and said, "You want to work in film?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "All right, well, you're going to be unemployed for 6 months out of the year because productions come and they go, and you're always looking for work. Work in advertising." I said, "Okay, sure, yeah, that sounds great. Like, how do I do that?" And she said, "Let me connect you with my protege at Arnold Worldwide." And it was my current boss, and she sent an email introduction, and my boss met with me for, I'm not kidding, 5 minutes. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, you seem smart, I'll give you an internship." And I was like, "Okay, sure." I stayed there for a year, and then I got hired, and yeah, the rest is sort of history.
So I'm similar to you guys. I started out, I got an accounting degree, and while I was in school, I wasn't sure if I really liked accounting. I was getting good marks, so I answered an ad to become a part-time accountant. And the company that I answered the ad for was a new shoe company in Boston called New Balance. And I got caught up in the running boom. And the company was growing like 400% a year. And I became the chief financial officer of the company. I'm in my 20s, and I had like 30 people working for me. And I was doing closings. This was before laptops and computers, and these were the old green iPad days. And I just said, boy, having a company is fun. So I became an entrepreneur. And I went off, and I never had any intention of being in the media. And one day, a friend of mine, I was doing some consulting for a company that was in the real estate business, and one of the owners owned a radio station up in Lowell. He said, why don't you do a show? I said, what am I going to talk about? Do a business show. You got a lot of experience. So I started this show on in WCAP in Lowell, and I really liked it because I'm a ham, you know, and it was fun. Then I moved to the Money Matters Network, and then when this crazy thing called internet radio started hitting, I said, this is really cool. So myself and my partner said, let's really launch a network, and we started this thing back in November 2012 with my show. And I think we're at about 60 shows now, really growing, and it's like, I think we're on a tsunami wave. I hope it keeps going. But, so I kind of back-ended it. I went from the business side, and I use media now to really build. I'm not coming from the media side to build a business. I'm coming from the business side and using media to build what I do.
I want to add one thing that, you brought up a really good point. Like, I never set out to become a business student. Like, that was never in the cards for me. But what I learned here at Bentley is business is important to almost every industry there is, no matter what.
It is. Yeah.
So, like, using the skills I learned here at Bentley, I was able to really get that film sold at Cannes, and figure out the logistics and make sure we weren't getting screwed. Yeah, making sure we weren't getting screwed over.
We probably did get screwed
So-
over.
But it's interesting. You guys bring up a good point too. It's like we have a show about the movie business, right? So we have someone who was an actor who has a own production company. So we get to learn about ins and outs. And no matter if you're in the music business or whatever, it's all business.
Yeah.
You have to market yourself. You have to promote yourself. And personal branding now is big for everybody.
So you've all talked about your stories a little bit, but in terms of the media industry specifically, do you think it is difficult to enter media, or is it trickier than other industries, or easier in some ways, would you say?
So I can at least talk about ad agencies. So turnover at ad agencies is high.
Very
That's
high.
just the nature of advertising. So there's always openings, but you can't really hold on to a job quite as easily as you could in, say, like a more business-centric major or industry. So I'd say that it's accessible for sure. It really is knowing. I mean, you hear this all the time, and this is like the one thing that was just like hammered over and over when I went to Bentley is it's who you know, it's networking. I mean, you just have to get your foot in the door. You have to meet with people who are able to, who are in the positions that you'd like to be in, really pick their brains, and show that you have some sort of value, and be like a real human being. Like, don't go in acting like you know everything, because you don't, and everyone knows that you don't. So that's, I guess, the small amount of advice I have. I would say that that it is accessible. You have to be persistent, and always. I mean, you can always move around within a company. So even if there's like an opportunity, and I'm talking about agencies still. So if you went to be like an account person, you could work your way over to a production sort of job, or you could work your way over to whatever you want, as you gain kind of credibility within the organization you're in. So, don't turn down a job just because it's not exactly what you want. I mean, seize opportunities, and I mean, you can always kind of move around.
I agree with almost everything you said. What am I talking about? I agree with everything you said. You have to just be passionate, and you have to have like an end, like sort of an end goal where you want to reach. You have to have something you want to drive towards, strive to get to, and feeding along what you said, like the agency business is really quick on turnovers. Like even if your job is really steady, most people move job to job in the agency world about like every 3 to 5 years, like
Sooner.
Yeah, much
Yeah,
sooner.
even
It's
sooner than that.
within a year sometimes.
Yeah. So it's really quick moving from one place to another. So you have to really know the people, know everyone in the agency world or the media world, And to go along with that, like media means like so many different things nowadays. Like it could be radio, internet radio podcasting. It can be, you know, advertising. It can be filmmaking. It could be Instagramming. Like it can be pretty much anything you want it to be. It's just finding something that you're really passionate about, that you feel like, you know, you'd want to do for a long time, and kind of just sticking with it, practicing. Like I remember after Bentley, when I was still an intern at Allen Garrettson, I would have to go home and do tutorials on After Effects non-stop just to keep up with all the work that was being thrown at me. So it's like you have to give yourself work. You have to like keep looking for stuff to do and looking for things to learn about. Because if you stop, then the media industry is just going to keep moving.
If I could add on to that, screw you, Carter. If I could add on to that. So that's another thing. Being specialized is very, very valuable. You have to have a skill set. Going in as like a jack of all trades, or I'll be whatever you want me to be, is
Never gets hired. Never.
You won't get hired doing that. And I learned that. I'm still learning it. I still want to go, because my job, so I do run the social media for Progressive, which means I'm working with, like, everyone wants to post something online. So whether it's coming from the client, or it's coming from within the agency, or from a vendor, or everyone wants to ultimately post something on Facebook about whatever they're doing. So I have my hands in everything, and it's so tempting for me to just be like, oh yeah, I do a little bit of everything. But in reality, I'm understanding the platform that I'm working on. It's understanding like very specific skill sets, and that's what you have to play out whenever you're going in for an interview. You really want to talk to the technical knowledge you have is very valuable.
Oh, thank you. I can go whenever. I will sort of disagree with Brandon that I think, I mean, at least in my job, working for a smaller company, I do get to kind of be a jack of all trades. I do think it's easier, maybe, if you do specify one thing. You know, if you're specifically in design or specifically in editing, that's probably a faster track to a job. But working at a smaller agency like I do, I enjoy getting to wear a lot of hats. You know, I mean, just today, I do graphic for my boss, and then I would update our website doing coding, and then we go shoot a video, and then I'd print off a banner, and then run a study. So the job can be very varied. But at the same time, I did have skills that would set me apart, you know, when I was interning at other places. Like, okay, I'd get a social media internship, but I knew how to Photoshop, so I could go and make a bunch of ads instead of having to write copy. Or sort of like Jim said, you know, when I got my first internship just doing strict video editing, I told them, I mean, I knew Final Cut, but I'd never even looked at After Effects. And they're like, oh, you know After Effects. So I'm like, when does this job start? A month. I'm like, okay, sure, I know After Effects. And so just like Jim said, I went home and basically just, you know, a couple hours a night just literally sitting and watching YouTube tutorials, and then I walked in and I was like the After Effects expert. So I think if you're going to, you know, go a route of specification, that's definitely important. But if you're going to be a jack of all trades, that doesn't mean you can just do a couple things okay. You still need to be able to do a lot of things very well.
Well, I mean, this is the point where I would go, I completely agree with all of you guys, which I do, so I'm not going to reiterate anything. I think they're kind of both right, and I think the way you should be looking at it is jack of all trade is not a bad word. If you're good at a lot of stuff, that's fantastic. But if you're sitting down in an interview and your boss says, what do you want to do? And you say, I can do anything. That's the wrong answer. You need to know what you're best at. Your specialization, your passion. For me, it's making projects. I love making movies. I love writing the script and editing it and all this stuff. And I'm not going to go, I'm an editor. That's a very separate pitch. That's like Jim would be saying. But for me, it's more of the ability to bring together assets and write. And it's a real boon when you actually know how everything works. When you have worked on After Effects, when you've worked on Final Cut, as a producer, that's amazing because you're speaking the language of the people you're working with. So be good at everything, but pick something specifically that defines your career aspirations, your identity, so to speak, because that's going to follow you. And be good at everything otherwise, if you can.
No, and I agree with most of everything you guys have said. And, you know, internships is a great word because that's how you get inside the door and show what you have. Because, like an example of our company, we love to have an interns because this is a young person's game. I mean, you guys know more about online than I could learn in my lifetime, you know, but I'm not bad for an old guy, because today I hit 100,000 followers on Twitter, which I'm very proud of.
We're not
You know? And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm learning it. But I'm saying it's a real great experience, and you're right about what media is today. Digital is becoming the hot thing. I'm not sure if what I'm doing or my company's doing is the right thing, but I know it's like the Wild West, that we're getting there, and it's going to shake out over time. So there's a lot of opportunities if you're willing to risk and try some new things.
That's excellent. So what I'm
I
hearing,
actually know an intern.
as a matter of fact, full disclosure, I am an intern at UR Business.
So anything he says is an invisible.
I gotta say that. I'm sorry. I had a rat out.
So what I'm hearing from you is perfection is what we're looking for. Perfection.
Oh yeah,
Pretty much.
Yeah. Be good at everything, be bad
If
at
you're not
everything,
perfect,
that
just
kind of
give
thing.
up.
Yeah.
Yes, quit now, drop out.
And also, what you said earlier, networking is meeting the right people is the key. 'Cause if you
Intern and meet people.
That's how you meet people, is by interning. And in our case, and I think Meg will testify, we probably have 20, 30, 40 business owners a day coming through our offices. So it's a real great opportunity.
Absolutely.
That's why I have gray hair.
One more point, I think that Bentley does a great thing that they emphasize networking, but that always sort of seemed like a dirty word to me, where my approach was always just kind of hand out as many cards as I could, get as much face time as I can with as many people as possible. But to me, it was the people that I ended up just spending time with or going and getting a beer with that were actually the ones that I could then get entry to. People know, everybody is getting pitched all the time, and if they say, oh, here's my card, bye, nice meeting you, that's never gonna get you anymore. So it's really, to me, it might sound corny, but it's really relationship building versus just networking.
Yeah, because you want to deal with people you like.
Exactly.
And that's the whole key.
Yeah, the idea I had of networking coming out of Bentley was like the career fair. You line up and you go, hi, I'm making a connection with you.
Yeah.
But let me
We
link
are
in with
connected.
you, and now you're my best friend. But really,
LinkedIn.
I think more valuable than networking is just being friendly and making friends. Having people
Relationship
that,
building.
that
Finding stuff in common.
but finding people that have your interests in mind.
And the same values too.
Yeah.
That's very important.
People that'll go to bat for you. It's good.
So you guys touched on an interesting question about that internships help you get through the door. Now, besides going to Bentley, which of course everybody should be doing, do you think that other types of education are helpful in the media industry, such as internships or an MFA or extra classes on After Effects, for example?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I think.
Let's
I
start
feel
there.
bad.
Let's
Start
start
with
We're going in the way. We got it
right.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say.
I like being the last batter.
You can really refine your answer.
Everything you said is true. Just going out there, trying stuff out on your own time, finding any internship that really, speaks to you.
Figuring out what you like. It's a big thing to do. It's kind of hard to figure out what you actually enjoy doing and what you might want to do.
Yeah, having really
every week for a very long period of time.
Yeah, having really bad internships can be great because when you figure out that that's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
the rest
Yeah,
of your life.
absolutely. It's a great learning experience.
Yeah.
And I think that more than just your rote knowledge of the material, having actual experiences is really valuable. So if you're interested in, say, filmmaking, you don't just want to learn all filmmaking theory. You really want to just go out and do your own projects.
Yeah,
If
if
you're
you learn
interested.
more in one bad project than you will reading 80 books.
Yeah. So actually getting out and doing, even if it's not for a company, even if it's just doing it yourself.
Do it for you. You might sell it in
Yeah.
Canada.
I'm going to tell you guys a really short story. the reason we made the film that ended up getting purchased was because we were kind of competing with a different group of Bentley filmmakers, and we wanted to like just take them down and like prove
It
them
was
wrong.
legitimately spite. It was spite. I
It
didn't know you were
was-
gonna say
it was
that.
just like, it was just
pure
like
spite.
we have to get these guys. Like,
Yeah, they think they're so great. We're better. We'll prove them
And then,
wrong. Yeah, exactly.
It was our passion of showing these guys up that really
Just destroying their hopes and dreams was what built our.
So yeah, that's what drove us to make a short film on our own time over like one long summer, and you know a year later it was in a international film festival, getting
some
purchased
reason.
by a major company. So you never know what's going to happen. It could be just like that spark of rivalry even that gets you just to the next step.
And that's how you learn too. I mean, you can't
Spite.
be afraid, but you can't be afraid to fail either.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh,
now we
yeah.
call it
Did a
pivot.
lot of that.
If it doesn't work, you pivot and try something else. But you have to get out there and try, or it won't happen.
Yeah, the first short film Dave and I ever made was like ambitious, as people
That would be the word. Yeah.
would call it. We definitely bit off more than we could chew, but it was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So it's got like 78 YouTube views. I would say it's going
I
strong.
think more than that. At this
Oh, did we
point.
hit 80?
Yeah, probably. My mom watched it a few times, so.
But I think that, while we were trying to just basically make a Citizen Kane after making like a 1-minute video, like intro to video.
Oh, I got this. I know how to make a full movie. Yeah.
But I think trying to shoot for the stars then made us much, much better at making films because we realized what was kind of in our wheelhouse. And I think that when we made 2-minute videos that were way, way better than the, sprawling epics we were trying to do before.
We got real actors, so we had to really kind
Yeah,
of
we had
pretend
to
like we knew what we were doing like the whole time. We're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I made a movie before. Oh, contracts? Yeah, they're in my car.
Yeah.
Let me write
Talk
them
about
quickly.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So two final formal questions. This is the first one, and it's kind of a two-parter. But what are the biggest challenges and most rewarding parts of working in media?
So for advertising in an agency, I'm going to keep prefacing everything by that because that's my only experience.
It's only been 2 years.
Most rewarding is I enjoy the work I do. It's very, I like that in a lot of media jobs, you really choose your own direction and you kind of set your own timelines and you're kind of your own boss. Even if you have like 3 layers of bosses above you, you're still responsible for your own work. So I really like that, just having the freedom. The most challenging part,
Nothing is so easy.
So the most challenging part, I would say, is, at least in agencies, it's very political. You have a lot of people like operating in their own self-interest. So there's a lot of fighting over work. You have to really hold on to the work that you want because someone might take it away. Especially when it's in media has a lot to do with creative, and when you're working with creatives meaning like
Creatives.
copywriters, designers, filmmakers, any of those people, they have a vision in mind and they will not let go of it. And they are very strongly opinionated and they'll really fight you for any sort of input you have.
And they can be
so
wrong.
And they're
They can
often
be
wrong. So knowing how to operate in that sort of environment is really valuable. I mean, I always thought that like 301, or I guess you don't even have 301 anymore.
320.
Yeah, the group projects classes you guys have, I, going through them, thought they were completely worthless. No offense to anyone in those classes, but the dynamics in those classes, working with difficult people, is a huge skill. Being able to manage personalities and stuff like that, that's very valuable because you don't grow out of it. You think that there won't be cliques, you think there won't be like this sort of political sort of fighting, but it's all the way up to the top of the company. You'll always have that sort of thing. So
It's the human
that's the
condition.
challenge, I'd say.
Yeah, just going off your point, like working in a creative environment, everyone feels like their idea is the best. Everyone wants to throw their 2 cents in on a project, and working as an editor on this one 30-second spot, I could have like 3 to 5 people at a time coming in here and telling me different things that they want to see happen. Like there could be a lot of cooks in the kitchen. That's like a good term that we use. Like a lot of people trying to make one dish with different ideas. And it can be, starting from scratch a few times, like starting completely over, long, late hours. Those are definitely like, it can be a pain, like it's frustrating. And it can be nerve-wracking too, like during a pitch time, it's just intense. Like everyone's like, really, really high, what's the word I'm looking for? Everyone's just really, not high strung, but really just overly nervous.
Stressed out.
Very stressed, very stressed. Yeah, that should have been an easy one. But everyone's very stressed, and you could go work until after midnight on something. So might not have homework anymore, but you have work where everything's on the line. Where a client that will give your company millions of dollars is on the line. So that is definitely the most challenging part. The most rewarding part is seeing that work pay off. When I see a Celtics commercial that I cut together play out on TV or at a bar or at a restaurant or something, like I can be like, yeah, I put that together. That's freaking awesome. So it's kind of a give and take type of thing, because all those hours and late stressful nights that you had can usually pay off, and you'll own that forever. And, hundreds of thousands of people will end up seeing it. So it's kind of a give or take.
I think the challenge for me is that the company I work at, the last year, we've probably doubled in size, which has been great. There's not a lot of sort of creative structure. I'm kind of the creative lead. I don't really have bosses over me telling me what to do. I mean, we have the CEO, but he's more kind of a technical guy, so I don't really have a lot of guidance. So I think that can be challenging, but it can also be very rewarding when we do put stuff out there on the net and it gets really good responses. And the challenging part is that I'm kind of behind the scenes. Like I'm not a sort of face in front of the company, so I'm more of a hidden role where I'm there to make the company look good. So I don't get a lot of direct kind of credit from the outside world, but when I do see things get produced that I make that get a lot of traction and that people share a lot, that can be very rewarding as well.
I think for me, and again, this is kind of just from my experience in advertising, it's the rewarding thing for me is just how much advertising touches other industries. Like I did a shoot with the Bruins and I met every single player, and I'm not a Bruins fan, so I was talking to one of them and I called him by the wrong name and he just looked at me like, dude, come on. And that was like kind of an experience that I really can't make up. It's just sort of like, wow, that happened. But in general, it's just sort of the way advertising touches other industries is really cool. We had the company that made the intro to Game of Thrones come in, and I got to talk to the woman who did the fishbowl map design, and it was really cool to kind of pick her brain and kind of get an idea of how that all worked. I'm wearing a Game of Thrones t-shirt right now. But it was kind of a cool experience, and it's just advertising in general, because advertising plays into almost every other business, because advertising is here to stay. Everyone has to be involved. A lot of people want to meet advertisers, they want to be involved in advertising, or because you're an advertiser, you have access to certain stuff that you might not otherwise in other industries, especially as an accountant where you meet nobody. Except IRS agents. And definitely the challenge for me was I'm very introverted, and it was quite an adjustment going to an advertising agency where as a producer, your job is you're on the phone, you're emailing, you're talking to people, you're making sure things are running, you're checking in. It's all very relationship based, and at the beginning it was very hard to kind of just like, all right, I have to call this guy and I have to call this guy, where I'm the kind of person who's like shaking before I make a phone call, like, hello, like I'm calling from Arnold Worldwide. It really took a while to kind of be comfortable in my own skin, and it helps when your position is sort of one that kind of explains itself. I'm a producer for the company you're working with, and they're like, okay, cool, what can I do for you? But it took quite a long time to really feel comfortable in such a very social environment for me.
My biggest challenge is to get these 4 guys to like what I do so I can do business with them. Because I want their clients to sponsor my network, because I have some great content. It's convincing, and I'm just being facetious, but I'm saying taking the traditional advertising and educating them how what we do is a way to get people on the front page of Google. I'm getting hits on your website, and this is where everyone's going. But we're still a little bit ahead of the curve from traditional media buyers, where they look at, you know, cost per thousand and this and that. So the challenge I have continually is we're building a great product, but to get the traditional advertising dollars more into what we do. So I want each one of your numbers and cards. So
Everyone wants to meet advertisers. Case in point.
But the reward is, you know, when we do get a client and we do a great job and we've continually proven that, you know, what we do is working, it's very exciting. And the other thing is, because I also do shows and I create new shows, I love that part of the business. I get to meet like some incredible people on a daily basis, including Megan.
And I get to meet wonderful people like you. And Nathan
response.
saying it back.
Throw that out there, right?
So, final question before we go to a more open forum. People can ask what they like, or come up, get more ice cream, et cetera, et cetera. But we have a group of wonderful Bentley students sitting out here, and we have wonderful people watching from YouTube at home on Bentley Television, youtube.com/Bentley Television. Not a plugging at all. But, so what advice would you give them after graduating from Bentley, after finding success in media? What advice would you give people in general of how to find success in media?
I would say find out what you like to do. Like, really find out what it is that you want to do. Like, I really, going to Bentley, I didn't really understand what each job was. I mean, like, it would be explained to me, but you don't know what the day-to-day functions of each job is. I'd say really educate yourself on what those are. Whether it be an agency or like production company or media buying company, like find out what everyone's role is, find out what they do day to day. And then also I would say, just based on what these guys were saying earlier, it really, as we move into the future and everything is becoming digital, your job, like 50% of it, is just educating other people about what it is you do. Because you're on new platforms all the time. You're coming up with new stuff that no one's ever done, no matter what job you get into. It's just everything's advancing so fast that you need to be able to explain what you do succinctly and clearly so that they can work with you well. So, like, even going into interviews, being able to educate them on what it is that you're interested in, educate them, the person that's interviewing you, you should be teaching them something. Or like at least your perspective on things. You should have like a pretty clear, defined idea of what it is you want to do. And if you don't, you should really be willing to learn. Like go in saying, I'm really interested in this, and I really, really want to learn it. And you should actually really want to learn it. Don't just say that. So that's my advice.
Going off what you've been saying, like always ask questions. Never feel like you know everything because you don't.
Never.
Like I said, I was doing hours and hours of tutorials, and I still feel like I don't know anything about After Effects because they keep updating it and adding new stuff, you know, and I'm constantly trying to catch up and keep current and up to date with everything that's going on in the industry. Aside from that, like always learning and asking questions, I feel like find a group of people that have similar interests and goals that you do. Like, I came to Bentley and I didn't know a single person, but I found a good group of friends, a good group of people who were passionate and wanted to do similar things that I did. And we made movies at Bentley. Like, who does that, you know? So, it paid off, you know? It paid off, and it was a great learning experience, and that was really what made me succeed in the industry, because we were passionate enough to get stuff done on our own time at a school that doesn't really, you know, usually support that type of, career. You know, we kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, and being different like that with a good group of people, it definitely helped us make a name for ourselves.
Yeah, I think just technical advice, at least just from the resumes that we see a lot when you're going after your first job, is at least for the subject line, like you don't have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life, but at least have some specificity. Like people just come in going, oh, you know, I'm very passionate about a career that will take me to a place and the thing in Narnia. I'm like, why does no? Like, I want to see, oh, okay, you want to have an account position in marketing. That helps me understand your qualifications and if you're going to be a good match for the company. So I think a lot of kids will just come in and try to just be really, really broad and say, oh, it's sort of like what Dave was saying, throw me anywhere. But I don't think that's going to help you. I think it's going to hurt you. And I think it's probably going to sound silly, but don't lie in your resume, especially when it comes to like different technical aspects that you have. Like, okay, yes, everyone is proficient in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, but if you're, you know, if you took a Photoshop class, don't say you're proficient in the Adobe Creative Suite. I can't tell you how many resumes we get. You just know the entire Creative Suite. You're just a master. Wow, that's amazing. Go make me this. Oh, well, I don't know. Oh, well,
InDesign? You don't know InDesign?
Oh,
How do you not know InDesign?
Exactly. Oh, it's on there. And it's definitely a weird thing for me, you know, not being that far out of school, of having to interview people, and it's funny, you know, having been on that other side for so long. So it's funny when it changes perspective. But yeah, the best advice I can give is just at least be specific about what job you're applying for, and have different resumes too. That was a big point when I was applying for different things. Is just, you know, be specific to the job that you're applying for, but don't just have one resume that you blast to everybody.
Everything they said. I think what I would say is have a hobby and really spend your time working on that hobby. I mean, the fact that I like writing and just kind of interested in film and spent most of my high school years just watching movies. I ran into Jim, I ran into Carter, I ran into Brandon, and we were just like, hey, do you want to do this? So the most valuable time I spent in my last 2 years at Bentley was working nights in the Mac lab editing our movie. And, you know, while you're doing it, it feels like nothing. It just feels like, oh, I could be out drinking with somebody. But, like, you know, be passionate about what you're doing, because we were there because we wanted to be. We were there late nights. And ultimately, when I look back on that time, the most valuable thing I did at Bentley was make our stupid Spike movie that sold in cans. So just always focus on your hobbies, because that's what's going to stick with you. You care about your hobbies. You're going to want to follow through on those in your career. You're not going to want to, oh, I'm an accountant, but I'm also passionate about writing. You're going to hate accountancy. You want to try to find a career that gels with your hobbies, because that's what you're going to be good at, because you care.
No, I agree. It's great to do what you like, and you should try that. But what I was going to say, besides everything they said, is Bentley has a great alumni network that you should tap into, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, and people like me. I'm not a tech. You guys can probably do in 5 minutes what would take me all day, on the internet and different things. So you have a great skill. We just have to find the right fit for it. But you all have some great resources. I can just tell from working with Meg. I mean, what she finishes in 1 day is just an incredible amount compared to some of the other people. So it's finding your niche, doing what you like, and there's so much opportunity out there right now. It's just, even though you're reading the papers how bad things are, there's some great things happening, and just try to find it and jump in.
If I could add one thing, I didn't take this advice, so I'm a total hypocrite, but if you're willing to move, you can get a much better job. Like, you really can. If you're willing to relocate somewhere, it's something you should really consider. It's something that I was just like, oh, my friends are here, my girlfriend's here, I like Boston, but eventually I'm gonna move, and it's really something you shouldn't just be like, well, I'm gonna stay where I'm comfortable. Like, moving can really help your career.
And a lot of it's luck too. Just
Yeah.
finding the
It's
right,
all
finding the
luck.
right
It's a lot
spot.
now.
You know?
Right time, right place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the very first job that I had was great. They sent me on sales support. I got to go to California, and then it was mid-October. I had just onboarded like 3 new accounts, and then I got brought into my boss's office, and there was a blue folder there, and then they closed the door, and I'm like, oh, shit. And then there was about 30 just zombies walking out in the parking lot. We all had our little blue folders, and it sucked, and it really, really did. And I was like, man, should I have just done finance and just had a stable job like all my friends do? And then I spent just about 2 months before I got the job that I have now. I mean, it definitely felt a lot longer than 2 months for sure. So yeah, it can be a bumpy road, but if you're passionate about what you do, you're always gonna finding something.
And it's not all about the money either, because I've had, being in the finance business, I had some very good paying jobs that I was miserable at. And, you know, quality of life and enjoying what you do is very important too. And the media, there's a lot of opportunities to do some great stuff.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, everyone. At this time, does anybody have any questions for our panelists here? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, my name is Sai. I'm a sophomore, marketing major, media arts. And I just kind of recently realized I really do want to go into marketing. That's something I'm very passionate about. And through a little bit of luck, actually, I networked a few days ago and landed an interview next Monday at a small agency in Boston, which I'm really excited about. So, but that also got me thinking. Just you guys were talking about the high turnover at all the agencies in Boston, but then each agency I know has their own culture almost that they're very proud of. So how does that kind of just all these people moving around agencies and all the different cultures?
Culture is one of those hot term keywords that agencies like to use. Yeah, it's just one of those words where everyone feels like they have the best culture. But I will say that every agency does have a different feel to it. And they definitely attract different types of people who like to work in that agency. I've only really had experience at Allen & Gerritsen. I was an intern there and then I got hired full time. And the culture that they like to, bring out in everyone is just really friendly, outgoing, relaxed, quote unquote, and just really open and approachable. That's the culture that A&G likes to, give out to everyone and, make everyone that works there feel. But I feel like the turnover thing, I think marketing and agencies in general just attract a very particular type of person. And everyone's very creative, everyone is very outgoing, everyone is passionate about what they do. And I think that just, no matter where you go, will come out in the agency.
Yeah, I think people bring culture with them.
Yeah.
I mean, culture, agency culture, to me that's just like a code word for like we all bust our asses really hard and then we like wear jeans and are totally relaxed and you can have a beer at your desk if you want. Like, but really you have to get your work done. So like there's definitely different feeling agencies. But in the end, it's really, I mean, you create the environment you kind of want to be in. Like how you treat other people, how you work with people under you and above you will create sort of a culture. So you don't really have to worry too much about, like, am I at the right, like, culture agency?
And I think that goes back to the internship, because that's a great way for you to find out if you really like this firm or not and get some experience, because it's a two-way street.
And it also depends on which agency you're going to. Like Arnold Worldwide is a worldwide agency. You know, they have offices all over the world. Allen & Gerritsen just got another even smaller office in Philadelphia. So we're a company of, a little over 200 people. Arnold Worldwide has thousands of employees. So,
But we don't interact with most of them. It's still.
but at the same
closed
time,
down.
working in the Prudential is very different than working
Totally.
in the Seaport. So that will definitely change the type of culture that you'll encounter.
I think culture is, it's outward facing. It's like a brand, like you're experiencing the agency culture more as an outsider than you are as an insider. It's something interns will really, like Arnold has an intern program, and my vision of Arnold as an intern was very different than my experience at Arnold once I actually worked there, because people are trying to impress you to a degree. Like, just like you said, we have a beer vending machine. That was awesome when I started as an intern. Like, oh my God, I'm going to keep up. I get beer whenever I want. I haven't used the freaking thing in like 6 months, 5 months. Like, you're too busy. You're working. You have a job.
Yeah.
And yeah, the turnover thing, I think I would definitely say if you're trying to get into marketing, you shouldn't be the kind of person that wants to work at a company for 10 years.
Yeah.
You should be somebody who's looking to always as an ad agency person, my resume is the clients I work on, the projects I've done. It's not Arnold Worldwide 15 years. That doesn't impress anybody. It's the clients that I did while I was at Arnold in those years. And if you have the opportunity to work on better clients, that's what's going to push you out the doors to go work at other agencies. So I think the turnover is kind of a natural factor of that.
Anybody? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rose. I'm a freshman. Probably going to major in marketing with liberal studies and media and culture. I'm not from Massachusetts. I'm from the greater New York City area. So do you feel like, I know like as you've been saying, there's a lot of opportunities and there's a lot of turnover and you go to a lot of places. Do you feel like the fact that even if when you're near another city, there's a lot of opportunities for you?
There's a lot of ad
yeah.
agency work in New York.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about that. There's a ton in New York. There's a lot more than there is here. But I mean, every city has it. Like there's a big agency in Alabama. I don't remember their name, but they have some very large clients. And it's sort of that thing, like Brandon said, be willing to move because there's work everywhere. And it might surprise you where it is, but it's sort of right place, right time. You know, oh, there's an opening at this place on this client. Fucking do it. You have to lose, except, you know. Oh, I'm on YouTube. I'm sorry. Leave me, sorry. I needed to be emphatic.
I don't know how to bleep yet.
Take the lead.
Jeez, guys. So upset.
And something that's a little less tangible, I do think plays in though, is when honestly there's a lot of like novelty factors, like, oh, you're applying for a job in California, oh, you're from Boston, oh, I've heard all these great things about Boston. Purely just being from somewhere else can definitely get you a leg up, just as that simple novelty fact.
But I think no matter where you're from, right now, it's all about building your personal brand. That's the key, so that, you know, what makes you unique that someone's gonna wanna hire you.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the key thing right now.
Yeah.
So going back to what Brandon said about knowing what a job like is from day to day. So could you guys give us like a lowdown on what you guys do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So I'm a community manager for Progressive. So what I do, we basically work monthly. So I maintain a content calendar, which is basically just, I said I didn't want to work in spreadsheets, but it's a spreadsheet. And so every month we do so I work with creative directors who are in charge of the creative vision of just kind of making sure that, like, a lot of times for social media, we'll come up with like cool ideas, but it'll have nothing to do with the brand and nothing to do with any sort of business objective. So they kind of keep us in line. Also, so what I'll do day to day is each month we do a kickoff. We'll meet with some copywriters, some designers. I'll write a whole bunch of stuff myself. We come up with a whole bunch of posts for the month. While we're doing that, we're getting just requests from all over the place. Everyone at Progressive wants to have their part of the business highlighted. Every initiative they do has to be mentioned somehow. Every commercial they do. And then there's also just the whole big push for responsive, real-time sort of thing. So like, oh, there's a new TV show or there's some big thing in the news. We should post about it. And you just have to be able to like turn that around quick. So it's really just facilitating that process, and then interfacing with the clients. So getting it in front of them and presenting it in a way so that hopefully they'll accept the work that you've come up with. And if not, then you have to be able to manage that feedback and then manage it with the creatives, who aren't exactly like the most responsive, accepting people of feedback. So yeah, that's basically what I do.
Being an editor is very different. We work on maybe 2 to 5 projects at a time, and they can take either a week or months, depending on what they are. Currently I'm working on a web series called A Few Good Minutes, which is just like a 5-minute video that we post on our website and YouTube that is like interviewing different people in popular culture. So we had people from Russell Simmons, who was in Run DMC back in the day, to Donnie Wahlberg. Working on one right now that is about Mark Echo, who has Echo Unlimited, that clothing company. They gave me an hour-long raw interview, and I'm supposed to cut that down to 5 minutes. So I have to take all the best key points and just narrow it down and make it look like that's how it actually happened. So I'm pulling stuff that they said at the 45-minute mark and putting it at the 30-second mark and making it flow with stuff, you know, that happens right in between. And while that's all going on, we're also taking care of special requests. Can you format this for a YouTube output? Can you upload this onto Vimeo? Can you send this link out to one of our clients? And then also on special days, I'm doing Vine videos for Hannaford. So I'm suddenly doing stop motion animation with, you know, good grocery items. So there's a wide range of stuff that I do, but it's always fun. And even though some projects take a little bit more time than others, you know, it usually keeps me on my toes and it keeps it exciting. So I don't really know what to expect when I go in every day. But, you know, it's an adventure. Definitely an adventure.
So like I said, I work for a smaller firm. It's been growing a lot recently. My job, I mean, I started there in late 2012, and there's a couple things that I do now that I did when I started, but a lot of it has really evolved. And my boss is really great in the sense that, you know, there's some projects that I'm more passionate about. I'm, you know, usually happier, kind of like these guys, if I'm creating something, whether it's a video or a graphic, and he knows that about me. And he goes, okay, you know, are you more passionate about doing graphics and production or about promotion side? And I'm like, honestly, you know, I prefer more of the production and, you know, letting someone else handle the promotion. I didn't know how he was going to take that, but he was very good about it. He says, okay, that's good. I'd rather have you working on what you're passionate about versus something that you're not as into. And I know I'm lucky to sort of have a boss because not everyone kind of gets into that situation. So I'm a content marketing manager, which is sort of a new kind of hot, I guess, position. That people, I didn't even know what it was when I got hired to do it.
So lie.
Exactly. And honestly, you know, a huge part, I mean, every day I'm learning, I have to learn how to do something new, and I still feel like I'm brand new with the company a lot of times just because so much of what I do is just figure it out and run with it. We have 2 weekly web series that we do, so, you know, I have pretty consistent work with that where we go, okay, you know, we have a new guest for this week, so go make the graphics and, you know, all the graphic side, but we also maintain a log on our website of all the shows, so then go in, okay, update the website, do the back-end HTML, you know, keep the site up to date. I mean, today, you know, we had one of my bosses works in North Carolina, and he's in once a week every month. So whenever he's in, we'll go, okay, you know, we got to shoot video. So I'll, you know, hop on from doing Photoshop stuff to then going, you know, into the office and just crank out, you know, 10 3-minute videos, and then go and find stinger music and splash graphics and upload those to YouTube, but keep them private because, you know, we're not going to be releasing them for a while. So I get to do a lot of things that I enjoy doing. You know, sometimes I'll do more of the technical side. You know, we're a big search firm. You know, my boss is very big in sort of the search industry, so he goes and speaks at a lot of different conferences. So sometimes it'll be mundane things like, oh, you know, go make his PowerPoint look beautiful for, you know, when we go, okay, we're going to go pitch Home Depot, let's make everything, all the promotional materials look really nice for that. You know, I've had to learn a lot of the more technical side of Google Analytics and rank tracking, and I actually do enjoy working on spreadsheets sometimes. I can find it can just be nice. It's like meditation almost, just kind of mindless. So yeah, I always find it a little difficult to say exactly what it is that I do because it's changing so much, but basically I exist to just make the company look as good as it can and basically do for the company internally what we would do for clients externally.
As a producer, you're kind of like the manager of any sort of project. So my job is actually quite similar in terms of how Jim's work, in that I get about 2 to 5 projects, though one project could be, you know, making 8 different videos, but, you know, client-based. And essentially, as a producer, you take a project from beginning to end. You're the only person who's really touching it the whole way through. So you're given a script, and you immediately figure out the money, how much it's going to cost. You line up the companies that are going to work on it. You cast it. You go through the shoot. Once the shoot's over, you go through the editorial, the finishing process, and ultimately archiving and making sure everyone got paid. And on the surface, it's fairly straightforward, but the majority of the job is putting out fires because nothing ever goes along with what you intended to do. So I had a project, we were doing an animation for, avocados from Mexico. So like we had a little avocado character, and we had an edit house in London who was doing the animation for us, and essentially the way we pay them is we pay them 50% when we award the job, and 50% of the sum when the job is complete and we get everything delivered to us. And essentially they were working for about 3 weeks without us wiring the money. And I was basically negotiating with them to not stop work because we had a schedule, and they were saying like, you haven't paid us, we're gonna stop, and you have to pay us or we're gonna charge you and all this stuff. And we're like, we'll pay you, just keep working, bro, like please. And so it's sort of this kind of weird thing where you never have the same problem twice, and it's why it's very hard to be good at this job, because it's sort of, you're never gonna have the same problem twice, ever, ever. But yeah, I guess my job is putting out fires and otherwise managing different projects as they flow through the agency, kind of in a very haphazard way. So you're typically starting off a project and finishing off a different one, and definitely you get ad hoc requests like everyone. I mean, that's just a reality of having a job. Somebody's gonna show up and go like, hey, do you remember this video that we did 7 years ago? No. Well, we need to find it. And it's somewhere in the servers. Okay, do you remember what the code is? Because we use codes to jump. No, I don't remember the code. Okay. I remember how long it was. It was 30 seconds, and it was like something like, it's good. I think that was the name of it. Okay, I'll look 8 to 9 years back and see if I can find it. And that's sort of the reality of it. It's just putting out fires.
I think that's the name of my job too.
It's a lot of marketing.
Being on the entrepreneurial side, it's you do everything. You have to wear every hat, and you know I do everything from being on the air, booking guests, generating content, and I create shows, and I meet tons of people. I have to sell. I have to make sure the business runs. So I don't have any rest. I just work 24/7. But I love every minute of it.